Cool.
All right, we are this is actually episode 13 of Keeping It Local, Lucky 13.
Lucky number 13.
And I am here with a marketing wizard, uh good old-timey Kings Parker from a much different age group, but know the family well. Great guy, and he is the founder of Lighthouse Media Pros, Jeff Snair. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, thanks for having me. What's going on, John?
Oh, nothing much. No, my pleasure. I just love podcasts and talking to business people.
This is
Um
you got me excited because I just got this whole microphone set up for today, and this is going to be my jumping off point, I think. So thanks for the push.
as soon as your camera went on and I saw that mic, I was like, guy's a pro, guy's a pro, like immediately.
Yeah, if you saw me like dangling my baby from my hip to set all this whole thing up for just this call 5 minutes before, you wouldn't be saying the same. But I'm glad that I pulled it off.
I was doing
Full
the same thing
transparency
here,
here.
getting things set up. I'm like talking to because the kids are home from school today. So I'm like, yeah, what, maybe want to take them to the library right now, have them go run around there for an hour. That'd be great. Um,
Yeah.
so that worked out. Yeah, we're all in the same boat, right?
Yep.
But it's
Throwing laundry baskets aside and trying to make this look somewhat legit. So thanks
yeah.
for having me. Thanks for giving me the experience here. This is
No,
awesome.
absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you. This whole thing for me with this podcast has been great because I'm just talking to people who I know, people that I've known for a long time, people that I haven't known or known of, and just I'm learning so much from all of these different business people that are coming on here and telling their stories. So for me, it's immensely helpful. I enjoy it thoroughly, but I'm glad that it's like helpful in that you're excited about it and people that come on are excited. It's feel like it's just a good thing, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So let catch us up to speed. Tell us what's been going on in the life of Jeff Snair and where you're at right now and Lighthouse Media Pros.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks. Jeff Snair is a busy man.
Should we
Too
do
little,
this whole
too young.
interview in the third person? Like
Yeah. It's like, who's that Seinfeld episode? Jimmy. But yeah, so I'm a busy. I'll do first person. I'm a busy guy. I've got two young kids. I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. We recently relocated from sunny Kings Park to sunny Myrtle Beach, um, and so it's been great. We've lived here for the last almost year, and yeah, but my roots are still run deep into the Kings Park community, and so I'm back home, on Rumford Road, a few times a year, and trying to keep up with everybody, back at home, all the people that I know and love, and all the businesses in the community. I try to stay up with, and try to keep a pulse on what's going on. So really excited to be able to kind of mesh two of my worlds here, which is my career, which has been probably the last decade in marketing, media planning, digital advertising, and kind of just like brand building. So I've been doing this stuff in my 9 to 5 for quite a while, and over the course of time, just like probably a lot of people that can relate to this, would love to get out of the rat race, and build something of my own. And so in the little bits of time that I've had over the last few years, we had our first child in 2020. So that's when the whole world flipped on its head. And,
fun
we
times, fun times.
started, it went from working in the city, going into the office every day to, everybody being on lockdown and getting a taste of the work from home lifestyle. And once you get a taste, you don't really want to go back.
It's true.
I'm
It's
sure
true.
everybody can really relate to that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of what got me really thinking and building, trying to build something of my own. We had a baby on the way. We had just bought our first house, and so the real estate market was crazy at that time. We bought this tiny little 2-bedroom house, out east, and made it work, and cashed out our 401ks and just made everything happen when the baby was on the way. And so that's what kind of obviously when you become a dad, and like life really starts for you, you like have a new like purpose. And
Mhm.
so that's where a lot of the wheels like started turning for me, which was like, all right, you own property now. You're building a legacy here. And
Mhm.
so there was just like a lot, that kind of was like ruminating all at one time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I'm like, I can't be going back and forth to the city, for the rest of my life. I need to be present. I need to be, building something for myself. And
Mhm.
started listening to a lot of Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, and
Mhm.
it was like, you know, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And that
And
was when it all really kind of shifted.
and it's so funny that like the timing of what you're talking about, because I feel like you're in the same. The wheels didn't really start turning for me until my first daughter came, Casey, who's wonderful. Um, it was like all of a sudden now, like I don't know, maybe it's like the um the male, brain in me was like provide, 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 right?
Yeah,
And it's like, oh, I
absolutely.
have to provide more, I have to provide more. And I don't know if that's a right thing or a wrong thing, but it definitely started the wheels turning more as far as like what else can I do? And then when you couple that with the pandemic and 2020, when there was a lot more time to focus on, yourself, that was like, okay, I can really spend the time to do these self-help things and listen to these experts about how to build something.
Yep.
I'm interested to see at some point. I'm sure there'll be a study done about how many like new businesses and new ideas were created, not because of the pandemic, like that, but businesses that were able to be created because there was more time due to the pandemic, and how
Sure.
many
Yeah,
people, I mean, we
definitely.
see the side hustle stuff all the time on Facebook and like, oh, start a side hustle. And I feel like a lot of them are bullshit. They're not, like they all revolve around the same thing. And it's like, okay, but you still have to have marketing, and you still have to have clients, and you still have to have sales, and it makes it sound like, oh, it's a one-click shop, like just go here, boom boom boom, set up, printify, blah blah blah, and you're done. um and someone who's in a digital marketing space who understands this knows that like it is the furthest thing from that simple, I would assume.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no, go ahead, yeah.
Well, a lot of what you're talking about now is like a lot of, some of my client base, which is like there are so many new businesses that have, kind of taken off in the last few years. And, for people of all ages, starting businesses, some people had, in layoffs, some are,
Right.
older generational folks that, and unfortunately got laid off. Some are, kids out of college that, don't want to start a corporate job or couldn't, and so people coming from all different walks of life, in the entrepreneur world, and like you say, they all need clients, so some of them have a better gauge on how all that works than others.
Mm.
I I dial people up all the time, usually from Facebook groups, and if I see they don't have a website, or if I see, they're only really using Facebook as a form of like, I was saying to my parents, Facebook is the new word of mouth, so like
Right.
that's like the old fashioned way now. There's so
Mm.
much more to it that you could do. Um, so if people are just using that, I reach out to them. I say, and I don't necessarily know their age always, but I'm like, is there, a reason why you don't feel a need to have a website, or, this or that? Um, and some people, it's a one man show, and they're doing as much capacity as they really can, and that's great, and they don't want to, put on another crew of, whatever business they're doing, but some do, and so, it's cool to meet people from all different walks of life, and, kind of get that reminder of like, enough is enough. At a certain point, like some guys just want to do their thing and get on with their lives. Other people want to continue to scale and expand, and,
Right.
so it's cool.
What would you say are like three must-haves for someone who is, let's say, starting their side gig, right? Or starting a side hustle or just a new business, whatever. What are like the top three must-haves that you need to have to get going in order to be successful, in your opinion?
Yeah, good question. I'd say a website, Nothing doesn't have to be anything fancy, but like a place that you can exist on the internet where like you can share your story, share what you do, and it's not diluted. It's as pure and like authentic as it can get. It could be a one pager where you click and it's there. You scroll down a little bit and you get everything you need to, and you get on your way. You call, you make the phone call, you fill out a form for more information. It all depends on what the business is offering. But number one, always for me, a website. Again, now depending on the service, I'd say, or the business type, Google Business Profile is a really big one. So if you're a plumber, an electrician, mobile car detailer, even some niche ones like that, I think there's a stat that like 92% of people are going on Google first before like hiring anybody. So if you're not
Mm-hmm.
showing up on Google, and if you're like not showing up on that map, like if you're searching, I don't know, we'll just
Yeah,
stick to mobile
restaurants in
car
the
detail.
area, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kings Park, this or that.
right.
If they're not, if you don't see that they're on, Pulaski Road or whatever, like, are you're not really gonna either think they're credible or be able to find them in the first place. So,
Yeah.
um, Google Business or just being on Google in general. So that has, a lot to do with, search engine optimization of your website or of your overall online presence, which,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that has to do with the social media pages, which I think is three on my list. So
Okay.
it's all connected, like
Right.
when it comes to people finding you online, um, it's all about being everywhere you can be, website, Google, business profile, social media, YouTube, TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
like wherever you can be. And of course, some for certain businesses that applies, certain things apply more or less than others. So obviously, this is all, you know, um, taken with a grain of salt, unless
Yeah.
you're, looking at
I
a
mean, I think you
specific
hit it on
case.
the head though, because this is how people verify who they want to work with, right? Like, first you find them. I mean, I rarely find a business that I want to use on Instagram first, right? The first thing is like, I decide I need something. What do? I go to Google. That's the first thing
Right.
I do, like you
Yep.
said. So the Google business profile is so important for anybody. Like, if you don't have that, I feel like you may be amazing and you may be offering a great service, but your authenticity and my ability to trust you is not there because I didn't can't find you
Hmm.
on Google. I mean, in my mind, and this is just me, I'm a very skeptical person, but if I just see something on Instagram with nothing to back it up, I don't put a lot of weight into that being an authentic, real
Yeah.
business. It doesn't
Right.
appeal to me, and I'm like, you have nothing that makes me say I could trust you, aside from a lot of Instagram stuff, and then, well, are you buying your father? All the the conspiracy
Of
theories
course.
just start
Yeah.
rolling around in my head. And I'm sure there are a lot of people like me. No one
Yeah.
wants to get scammed,
Of course.
and they want to feel like they're doing business with something with a company that is going to take care of them. And having that Google business profile, I think, is spot on. Having a website, I literally just I can't debut what the business is. But we're starting a couple of my buddies and I are starting a new business, very niche, but like
Really.
it's yeah, I'll tell you about it off camera. Um
Okay.
I
Cool.
don't I
Okay.
certainly don't want to debut it here because we're like first to
Yeah, and
market.
I didn't sign my our usual NDA, so yeah.
Yeah. We'll be talking about it more, but we're technically like first to market, so I don't want to have copycats coming out right
Okay.
away, like hearing this. Um, but those are the three things. Like I'm setting my Google business profile will be done today. We the first thing I did, like we built a website with Canva. It's not the flashiest thing, but it works. Super simple. Connect the domain, and then
Yep.
once we
Doesn't.
have the clientele, social media, and like then we'll see what happens. And then probably calling Lighthouse Media to
Hey, I hope so.
yeah,
That'd
hey,
be
to bump
awesome.
it up there. Actually, we didn't even start by really talking about tell us about Lighthouse Media, what it is, all the stuff that you guys do. Um,
Sure.
because
I'd love
you're
to.
this is a new venture for you. Not that you're new to this, you're a seasoned pro, but like this is your baby aside from your
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah. No, thanks for the chance to talk about it. Yeah, so like you mentioned and like I already mentioned, I've been doing this, type of work, since I got out of school and, late I guess it was 2013, I went right into the job market, went into advertising, media planning, marketing. That was, all across the board, social media, TV, um, magazines, some really niche stuff. I did a lot of I do a lot of healthcare stuff, so it's,
Mm,
medical journals, very niche stuff. Um, you know, finding doctors that there's only, you know, 5,000 rheumatologists in the country, like being able to find, those folks. So it can be really broad like TV, or it can be really, targeted. So that's kind of where my experience lies. And like I mentioned, like since 2020, I've kind of started, doing my own thing, and, in different forms, and, complete learning process along the way. Because I know how to do it, on a big scale, but at my main job, there's a huge team. I work at this big. Over the years, I've changed agencies, but the structure is the same. It's, a lot big team. Not everybody's an expert in, their very specific things. And I've always been like the client facing, like strategic oriented person that kind of taps on each of the teams to kind of like pull everything together. So
mm,
always been kind of like, seeing those trends, telling that story, working with clients, putting the best recommendation of plans together of how to reach their audience. So I've been doing that for a long time.
mm,
Um, but then in like 2020, I started doing um, more of what's referred to as lead generation, and through a process called rank and rent. That was like my first kind of jumping off point. So basically finding clients for, small business owners, like, like I mentioned, the plumbers, um the kind of the one man show kind
mm-hmm.
of businesses.
Yeah,
Those
the
were kind of
service
my
providers. Yeah.
target. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the most random places in the country, everybody's doing the same thing. So there's, as we say, I'm in a big digital, marketing group, coaching group, and we say the riches are in the niches.
Mm.
So you can search far and wide, and find places that are you've never even heard of, and there's going to be business owners there that want more clients and want more business, and we can help them. So that's what I've been doing for a while. And so rank and rent is a strategy of building websites, getting them to rank on Google where people are searching, and that alone generates, phone actual, genuine, um, qualified leads and prospective clients for
Mm,
businesses. And so that's kind of was my jumping off point. Was like, you know, just creating a buzz for a service and handing off leads to the businesses.
mm.
Um,
So how
it's
long does it take? Sorry to cut you off. I had a
That's okay.
you're making my brain spin like crazy here. Um, so like how long does it take? Let's say like you get a client, they want to do the rank and rent. How long does it typically take for the client to start to rank and then get leads from ranking on the website through the services?
It really depends on the where they are and what the service is.
Okay.
I use a lot of like keyword research tools that I have like subscriptions to. I can search, something random, mobile car wash, mobile auto detailing in Kings Park, New York, and I can see how many people are searching for that and how competitive it is. And so, um, it's all kind of like there's like a scale to it. Sometimes, there's not a lot of people searching. Sometimes there are, and sometimes there's a lot of people in the area already doing that. And
Right.
and some people are better at the online web stuff than others, So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can go to Kings Park, New York, where there's all a bunch of really savvy, digital business pros, and there can be a service where there's 10 people doing the same thing. They're all, let's just say, they're all washing windows. Um, they could all be really good at it, and it could be really hard to get in the mix there online. You can go to some other place doing the same window washing, same, 10 business owners there, and none of them even have a website, so then not going to take that much to, get, your name out there and get some people who are interested. So there's all levels to it. And so that's has a lot to do with, where like the how I agree on costs with, the partners,
Mm,
how big of a ticket item is it? Is it window washing for $200 a pop, or is it um, mobile golf simulators, or something like that? Like
right.
I've been in like really niche businesses like that, which are, $50,000 a pop, so closing a deal for one guy is very different than closing a deal for another. So and the same thing, like sometimes the competition is a lot higher. I have new strategies now where, you know we integrate, like I was mentioning, all the other channels, social media, Google business profile. It'll like more recently the trends have changed where, not always is the, the website stuff enough. Sometimes you really have to lay it on and build a whole brand to, really, get clients, noticed,
Hmm.
um, and get, prospective, customers. So,
Yeah,
um, I guess that was a kind of a good segue. Like that's how Lighthouse Media Pros came about, is because I used to just like find people on Facebook and be like, "Hey, can I, help you get more customers, or can I, you know, build you a website, or
sure.
something like that." Now, like it needs to grow, and it needs to be, more holistic, and, more of like a well-rounded, approach. And so, over the years, I've kind of learned that, and I've, learned a lot of these other systems,
Hmm.
through either my main job, or kind of dabbling with it, with, clients along the way, or just testing stuff, in my,
Right.
free time,
No, I think,
the
I
little
mean, you
bits of
kind of,
free
you
time
were
that I
talking
have.
about it before, and you're like, you're saying exactly what we were talking about, is like, it's got to be, it's a well-rounded thing. Like, it blows my mind. Sorry, I'm playing with a pen. I'm like fidgeting, and
That's
my,
like I have
also
this
my
weird
legs are
thing,
doing,
this like USB thing that I'm fidgeting with. So you got to have something. Yeah.
and I'm playing the double bass pedal with my legs. Um, like I always do. But yeah, yeah, like you have to, it's, yeah, I feel like it's got to be full circle. And it's funny, like I always get a call from this company, being in real estate, being a real estate agent. Like, I mean, there's like 20,000 of us on Long Island. Like, there's so many freaking
Yeah.
real estate agents. So when I always get this call from this company, and they're like, oh, well, our website strategy is great. I'm like, I'm sure it is great, and I want to be seen, and it's great to be seen on Google and everything. But honestly, like, just so much of my business comes from being referred by other people
Hmm.
and helping them out, that it's like, I have the website there, it looks good. I'm always on social media. That's great. Um I send stuff out to my sphere that I find is very valuable and important, and they get insight into things that nobody else does, like certain apps that I get for them. Like a really cool one that I'm giving out to all my people. I do a bunch of other things with them, and that's really like important to my business. But then what you're saying, what you're talking about, is so interesting, how it's crazy to me that you could find a place where there's a bunch of services and no website. Like, I can't even
Yeah.
fathom
Yeah.
like that someone wouldn't, like, several, mobile car detailing things wouldn't have a website and all this stuff. It's like, wow, it's a no-brainer. Like, if you could get in there and get them that, like, the client's going to be super ecstatic. Like, if you're the one who develops it, and like all of a sudden, like, hey, we're searching, mobile detailing in I don't even know, some crazy place in like
Yeah.
Montana.
You'd be shocked
And
at the numbers, like hundreds of monthly searches, for these, very specific, services in these really specific locations. And like that's, the riches and the niches right there. Like that's when you, as a, guy like me, are like, okay, here we go, like this is going to be a fun one, because there's so much opportunity and so little, competition out there. And, and so you asked the question earlier of like, how long does that take? And so like, if you got a situation like that, you can find yourself like towards the top of Google searches in like probably a few weeks.
wow.
But if you find yourself in, Long Island realtors search, um, you can spend maybe a lifetime. No, I'm exaggerating, but like, um, it would take a lot longer, and you
Yeah.
would have to do
Yeah.
a lot more, daily back end work,
Hmm.
to make it happen. There's a lot of different strategies called backlinking and, other thing, doing certain, optimizations to the actual structure of the website, making sure that the pictures are tagged in a certain way so that Google, even reads that and sees it as credible. There's so many different things that you can like get under the hood and do. But the first example, you might not even have to do any of that. Um, and you could be up, and getting noticed, within a pretty short time frame. Whereas like if it's really, a big market and a big, service, um, you can really have your work cut out for you. So
And
it all
that's
depends.
yeah, that sounds like where the real professionalism of you comes in, is like you said, getting under the hood, figuring
Yeah.
out all that stuff. Because I'm sorry, like I've actually like I've looked into stuff like this for the websites that we use at Signature, and like I don't care. Like I'm no genius by any means. I'm no computer person like genius by any means, but I'm okay. Like I could figure something out via YouTube. This is not that.
YouTube
Like you
University. That's my favorite
yeah,
place to be.
like
Yeah.
you cannot. Maybe other people can. I cannot figure it out by watching it, and then they explain how to do it. And like, there's so many nooks and crannies and details and elements that you have to weave together, that I feel like that's why you are the professional and you could do what you do, because you have to have a full understanding of how everything works to really do it right.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and so now, how long does it take you to, like, if you're going into like the niche market, like how long does it take you to dive in there and figure out like your potential client and reach out to them? Like what's the lead generation time looking like? Because you're working full time, you're doing this business as well. What's that like?
Yeah. No, it comes down to really needing like my systems in place and, committing to not getting a lot of sleep, especially with the 6 month old. That was
Right.
never really in the question, but, in the last like probably since she's been born, I've been like, when my son Eli was born, I like was dabbling in this, and like it was truly like a side hustle. Just find, little bits and pieces of time, as I went along, and, started to turn into something, slowly. Um, but I don't know, something about like, I don't know. I don't think it's different, son or daughter. They're both, amazing. But like I feel like my family's growing, and like I just like need to be more and more present, like as things go on. And so, um that was like, a big shift for me. So like in the last like 6 months since she's been born, like I've not really like used like I have a newborn as a reason to like dial things back like I
Mm-hmm.
used to, and a lot of that, is just comes down to like, this is my why, and this is, like I'll sleep later when, I'm living, more of the lifestyle that we see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a really cool men's fatherhood group called Rising Fathers. Check them out if you don't know about them.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about, you know, working out and waking up early, and, just putting systems in place to like win every moment of every day and be present in all of them. And so I've really tapped into this, like tribe of people, even in the last like few months has been a huge shift, and really just dialing in all of my systems. So I wake up early. I wake up really early now, 3:30, and sometimes that doesn't even give me more than an hour or two of alone time before, there's some, shuffling around, either my son or my daughter. Yeah. So, it sounds crazy, and it feels crazy. But sometimes it only gets me, an hour and a half, which is crazy to think about. But
Yeah.
yeah, every you know the compound effect is real. And I've really started to not only to buy into it, but to see, you know, the effects of it, which is
Mm-hmm.
really cool. an hour a day, in, a very dedicated, you know, thing can really lead to something. And that's what I've seen, come true. And
Yeah, the
so it went
power
from
hour,
like,
right? Like that's
yeah.
yeah,
And,
that
hope,
unadulterated focus period yeah, it's
yeah,
amazing what you could get done when you just have an hour to clean
uninterrupted.
everything out.
Yeah. And, I hope my boss isn't watching this, but like, I do my fair share of multitasking,
Yeah, yeah.
at work. I have an L-shaped desk and I'm constantly swiveling between, my work computer and my other computer.
Nice.
So, I just have to be honest there, that there's some of that. And then, sometimes I stay up late and, once the kids are asleep and my wife is asleep and we've, eaten dinner and had a chance to, hang out a little bit, then
Hmm.
I'm back at it. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of where things are, full transparency. Like this is still
Real
I'm
life.
still looking to get over that hump of making this my, full-time thing, but I'm finally treating it like it is.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a really cool like shift where I used to be like, I don't have time, well, now I'm like manufacturing the time because I
Hmm.
decided that like later doesn't work,
Yeah.
so it's been a really cool shift there.
Hmm.
And it's really paying dividends, like I've not only have you know, I lost like 20 pounds in the last couple of
Oh,
months.
nice.
I'm
Well
waking up
done.
early. I'm like formally like launched a business that I've been, doing for a long time, but never even like did myself the service of making my own website, which seems
Hmm.
so silly. Um, and so, like I'm really, I'm just leaning in and, I'm just manifesting. So if you look on my website, it says I've escaped the rat race, but I'm manifesting that.
Yeah. You're
It's coming.
escaping.
It's
You're in the
coming.
process.
It's coming. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I really appreciate, the opportunity to come on here and, get my face and my voice and my story out there, because I know there's so many people that either are in my shoes and are trying to escape or have, and I'm sure want to lend a hand to a guy who they could totally relate to. So I appreciate the opportunity to make a plug here and
Yeah. No,
network.
hey, plug all you want, buddy. I mean, that's what this is all about, and like I totally feel I totally 100% understand what you're dealing with. And because you're doing this for a very particular reason, right? It's you're setting yourself up to have even more time to be with the
Hmm.
family and everything. And yeah, it's tough, like I'm in a similar boat, even though like I was telling you before, but people are always like, "Oh, you still teach? Like you're not full-time real estate?" It's like, "Yeah, I still teach." So, the day is a little
You would never
crazy.
know it
Like,
by like the effort that
yeah, and
show
there's some
in that
smoke
world.
and mirrors involved. Like AI is really
Yeah, of
helpful with like making the content and stuff, but
course.
I don't I never view those things as a negative because it's like if it's giving me the availability to hang out with my kids more, that's great. Because that's ultimately what I want. But it's funny because say like I'm up usually like 4:30 in the morning, you got to walk the dog, got to get some stuff done, some mental stuff that I just take care of.
Yep.
And then it's work, and then usually doing the podcast at night. But one of the things that I always get asked is, "Oh, are you going to leave teaching? Like, are you trying to be a full-time real estate agent?" And there's two things I always say. Number one, no offense to my fellow realtors out there, but a full-time real estate agent is just a full-time lead generator. That's all they are. They're a
Mhm.
full-time prospector, full-time lead generator. Thankfully, I have a referral system that my business comes from the people that I know, my friends, my family, my coworkers. So it's great. So I don't have to spend that time lead generating, which is great. But also there is like a lot of security in being a teacher as well. Like I've been a teacher for a long time now. I still love what I do. I love teaching. I love my kids. Like I love my classes. There, it's a lot of fun.
What grade?
It's so I teach special ed English 9 through 12.
Okay,
So it's
cool.
self-contained classes, small classes. The most kids that could be in there is like 15. Um, and which is good because it lends itself to me being able to I have that whole I have the classes like systematized, and I'm always changing things, based on the kids and everything. But you were talking about systems, and like that's how this works. Like I have a
Yeah. Oh
system
yeah.
for school. I have a system for real estate. Like when I take on a new client for maybe a buyer client, it's like a 30 to 45-minute call where we go through everything and the expectations and what's going to happen. And then we figure out if we're going to work with each other or not. Like, I don't have time to say like, sure, I'll meet you at the house and see if this is a good fit, blah, blah, blah. Like no, like, and honestly, I don't think that's good service either, like that's not doing right by the client, in my opinion, because I want to show them that this whole process is systematized and this is how I function in both worlds. And this is also how you are going to get the best service possible because everything is planned and broken down and worked out already. And now we just got to plug in the tangible things like the house, the financing, all that stuff. But the structure of how we do this is done. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. Now we just got to find the house. So systems to me are like crucial. Everything, like everything we do is systematized, my business partner and I, so that we can function in the world and still do real estate. Because like I said, most anybody who's like, oh, well, you're not a full-time real estate agent. It's like, okay, well, you are not getting on the phone every day and calling people randomly to sell the house that you're trying to sell. You're not doing it. I'm sorry. If you say you're doing it, you're lying. What you're doing is you're calling people and saying, hey, I'm selling this house over there, and I'm getting this price. Are you interested in selling your house? That's what people are doing. And that's fine. That's how you generate business. I just do it through referrals. So you can exist in both worlds very easily and provide really, really high end service in both areas if you have the systems. That was a long rant.
That
Sorry, but
Hey, that's an important one. Systems are like what separates the wants from the haves.
mm-hmm.
You know, like in any part of life, it's that's what I've learned. Like even in the last you know few months,
Yeah.
it's like if you want something, that makes no difference in whether you get it or not.
Yeah.
It's how are
Yep.
you going to go get it, and how are you going to make it happen? And for you, it's how are you going to serve your client the best, and how are you going to do it in a manner that works for creating the stability that you need or want in your family.
Yeah.
Like you probably have great benefits, great,
Right.
whatever else is called, the
Benefits, the pension,
yeah,
like
the
yeah,
pension, yeah.
there's a lot of
So
pluses to
if
it.
you can do it all when most people can only do like half or a third of what you do, then that's on them. It's
Yeah.
not on, that's a, high praise to you for figuring it out. And everybody else is just like, you got to figure it, still got some work to do to figure it out, so that's a
And
cool thing.
yeah, and listen, at the same time, like there is like I actually like I like to work. I enjoy working, like I enjoy making money, like because I enjoy earning money. I feel like what I'm doing, it's earning money. Like, yeah, sure, I'd love for someone to just hand me cash all day. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how I would take that. Like, I like creating things and earning money and creating quality and service for people that, the exchange is worthwhile, where it's like
Hmm.
that to me is very it's very gratifying. I enjoy it a lot. And I'm sure you're in a similar position where it's like to me, I don't know, like I love starting, I love building. Like I love the start of things and the building of things and getting them going. Like to me, that is juice. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
is energy juice. Like
Yeah.
it gets me grooving.
Yeah, for sure. For some of the stuff that I do, I can totally relate to that, like with the lead generation stuff, because
Hmm.
usually in the beginning of like the process, before I have like a, a business owner partner like locked down, I'll have the leads come in for me, right to me, which
Hmm.
means I'm getting emails or phone calls. And so I have it set up where, it has a certain subject line, new lead from this, because I've got a lot of different websites running at one time. So I have to, keep them identified in my
Right.
inbox as they come in. And so I'll be like, okay, yeah, there we go. Like it's starting. And sometimes I'll get a phone call from like a number that I don't know, but I recognize, the area code, or, it'll sometimes say like the city and state. So like I've got this new business that's kind of getting going in Chicago. So I keep getting calls from Illinois, and every time I see it, I'm like, okay, here we go. That's exciting. And so
Now
that's
this
how
is
it
one of your
starts.
clients, you mean, that like you've set up for, and or is this the
So
leads
this
coming
is
in for
so
your
this
stuff?
is lead. So this no no this is a, yeah, for another service out there.
Gotcha.
And so in the like the infant stages, I take the leads in myself, kind of make sure that they're like qualified and make sense. Then the next phase is of that is like just finding a partner who I can forward them to, like make their phone ring and make their email box, buzz.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so in the beginning, I it starts to come my way, and that's when I'm like, okay, this one's gonna work well.
Hmm.
And so yeah, and that doesn't all happen that way, this you just got to have a lot of lines in the water.
Yeah, yeah, that's always a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got to have a lot of lines in the water. Absolutely. I love that analogy. Um, I'll leave you with what we'll do one more question here, one more thing for you. So,
cool.
um, I want to talk about the future trends um for marketing and advertising. Like, what are you seeing as the next wave of trends or things that are coming up that people can start to utilize, or that even calling you and Lighthouse and utilizing them? Like, what are the next things that are coming about?
Yeah, good question. You already mentioned it. AI is a huge one. Um, it's crazy what you can do. Like,
So crazy.
and it's crazy how much you can do that you don't even know about. And so like that's a huge one that I try to stay up on, from like a branding perspective. There's a lot of like content creation that you can do. um, you know, we were talking about how you can just, probably take this video, that we're recording right now, and it can probably be a lifetime's worth of, reels and, TikToks and that kind of thing. So like,
Mhm.
that's a huge thing is, just like giving legs to, anything that you're doing. It can be repurposed and reformatted into so many other places.
Mhm.
So like AI helps a lot with that. And I mentioned this earlier, is like being I call it like multi-channel, which isn't necessarily new, but like I feel like the importance of it is really, um, it's never been greater.
Right.
Is like, not just being on Facebook, not just being, having a website, um, not just, relying on flyers, postcards, that kind of thing. Like being able to be well-rounded and do it all, because each time that you're doing that, you're reinforcing, your brand and getting another touch point in front of, who you might want to be, going after. And not only that, and a big one I think is like, um, email and text message,
Hmm.
like, keeping up with, your clients in that way. Because, it's probably not just me, but like I get, my personal inbox is like flooded with, businesses and, service providers and you name it, of like different emails. And you probably are not, I'm not reading most of them, but somehow there's like this subconscious, like internal thing where like I know, like, when somebody reached out, somebody like offered me something,
Hmm.
especially if it's like a one-time discount, or
Yeah.
like a coupon code, or like like I'll have this, like my wife will mention something, we need this, or we need to do that. And I'll be like, I got an email about that like 3 weeks ago. And like randomly, and you always seem to go back to the person, like the organization that's like you've seen, or like that's reached out to you,
Hmm.
like rather than going out searching, on your own. It's like I remember, like, it's just like there's something about the subconscious mind, I think.
Yeah. And the
And so
multiple
the more
touches.
times that you can get your name, in front of somebody who might even be considered using you in the future, is
Hmm.
like you'll convert them eventually. And I feel like you close the gap in like the amount of time until you close them, based off of like how many strategies you're using at the same time.
Hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. I totally agree. Um, that's the multiple touches are huge to that. Like, the
Yeah.
more they see you and the more you're just present in multiple places. Yeah, and it's trust building. It's just like, okay, like they're really doing it. It's not just a one-off thing. Um, You
Yep,
made my
100%.
brain think of one other little tiny thing, and if you can't speak to it, don't worry about it. But if you can,
Oh,
I'd
that's
be
okay.
interested to hear.
Hit
Um,
me.
so now what you were talking about with AI, we're seeing like Google, like Chrome, all the search engines are seeming to integrate some type of AI companion into the search, right? Like there's like the helper. So do you know of anything or see any potential here of how this is going to help SEO or hurt SEO or hurt the, small websites, big websites? Like what do you have any insights into what this is going to do for someone who is potentially using your service?
That's a cool question. Thought
I just
provoking.
thought of it.
Uh, um, I have some thoughts. I definitely don't have like a good answer.
Yeah, sorry
Um,
about that. Like
so
that
no,
was just
no,
really
no, no,
spur of the
not at
moment.
all, not at all. That's what this is all about. I'm gonna have some homework to do after this. But I think that like in the terms of the work that I do, like building brands, building websites, connecting them all, making sure that like Google sees them as like one, united entity.
Mhm,
Um, like there's at least right now or in the recent past, like there's been a lot of like Google trying to like mine for and like weed out AI produced content.
mhm,
I think that there's going to be a shift there. I think that as AI becomes more prominent, Google's not going to be able to keep away the AI. First of all, they may not be able to detect it, which is
mm,
probably the craziest part, because already, like sometimes, I use AI to see, is this, detectable? Like sometimes I'll use AI to write content, and then I'll use AI to ask it, is this detectable by AI?
right.
And sometimes it'll say, yeah, yes, this sounds like AI.
Yeah,
And then I know I have to go back and redo some stuff.
right.
Sometimes it says this is 99% human based content. And I say, okay, I know how to use AI pretty well then.
It's
Um,
100% AI, baby. Like,
yeah. So, but these are all, crazy, you talked about like saving yourself time. Like these are crazy important, skills for, any business owner that's trying to market, do their own thing, do their own stuff,
Mhm.
and you're silly if you're not, trying to tap into it, at least in some way.
I think
Um,
so too.
or somebody who
100%.
can do it for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the other side of it. But like, I'll end it with this. So this is how much AI is going on here. So I used AI. I used ChatGTP to develop the questions. So I uploaded all the info
I
for your
had a feeling.
website. Yeah, you could probably tell by reading it. But like I uploaded all your website. I put in who's seeing my YouTube. Like, hey, this is my target audience. Blah blah blah. Generate 10 topics that would be interesting that my target audience would really enjoy. So that was AI. Zoom has
Cool.
the summary here, which is going to summarize this podcast, which is great because then I'm going to plug it
That's cool.
back into ChatGTP to develop the website, not the website, sorry, the description for this episode and the viral title and all this stuff. And then AI is going to clip this video and make it into clips and do all this stuff. Like this shit would have taken me 10 hours to do, and it's like,
Yeah,
why?
that's
Why do
impressive.
it? Like,
That's amazing.
but AI can't do what we're doing. That's the thing that I always remind people is like AI can't pull out like the expertise that you're putting here.
Sure.
AI can't
You're always going to need somebody like driving the plane. That's
always,
for sure.
always.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
avoiding it. But listen, I know we've talked for a while. I think we'll definitely do this again because I feel like we just barely scratched the surface.
This was really cool. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for coming on. As always, anybody who comes on, I'm super, super thankful because this is time out of your day when you're working to sit here and talk to a real estate agent, which nobody wants to do. Um, but this is about business, so it's
You're
fun.
you're one of the good ones.
That's there's a handful of us. All right. Well, we are going to end this recording, but again, Jeff Snair, Lighthouse Media Pros. I'll have their website in here. You could find them if you need any type of advertising. I would reach out to Jeff, good guy. Um, he's going to do right by you, and he's going to make sure that your website's ranking. Like you're going to have the brand when you deal with him. All right,
Thanks,
thank you,
John.
Jeff. All right.
Thanks for the plug. All right. Catch you next time.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
everybody.
Oh, whoops. I shut my video off. How do I end the recording? Oh, I'm in half screen. That's why. There we go.